Hey, what's up guys? Hardleg Joe here with your weekly What a Deck profile. This week, we're looking at Mind Gamez 2018 edition. Now, normally, right off the bat, I go over everything in the deck first and read out what we have, but most of these should be recognizable from a glance, and I'm going to have to go over all of them anyway, so I'm not going to bother this week. Anyway, as the name suggests, this deck's win condition is Mind Gamez. The whole point is to confuse and befuddle your opponent, make them think that you're such a complete scrub that they start making mistakes or they start going easy on you. Now the thing about this deck is that there's no one part of it that's really like the most important. It's the deck as a whole that works like some kind of complex 12-ton Yu-Gi-Oh victory machine. Like for example, you'll notice that we're playing no search or draw power whatsoever. That's because we're currently in the height of hand trap format. Every deck is running at least 4 Ash Blossom, and in that case, the only winning move is not to play. If you don't search anything, they can't hit you with Ash Blossom. So this whole deck gets a +3 of theoretical card advantage just starting out, because every deck you play against is going to have 3 copies of Ash Blossom that are just going to be dead in hand. Likewise, that's why we play the 57-card deck, the 14-card extra deck. Your opponent's going to see numbers like that, and they're just going to lower their guard immediately. It's tactics like that that make the deck work out surprisingly well, but it also makes the deck really hard to explain in a short video like this. So rather than do my usual thing and explain all the key components first and then move on to the tech cards, I'm instead going to just go down the line and explain each card and why it's here. So to start with, we're playing 1 Garnet. Not only is this the highest attack beater in the deck, but if you normal summon it, your opponent will think that you've bricked with Brilliant Fusion, when in fact, we don't play Brilliant Fusion at all. So there they are, thinking we have a suboptimal hand, like, oh, he drew his Garnet, herp de derp, he must be in Brick City. When in fact, all our cards are still live, and we have the deck's biggest beater. Mind Gamez 101, make your opponent underestimate you. After that, we're playing the 5 pieces of Exodia. Now, I'm not great at math, but I'm pretty sure 57-card deck, your chances of drawing all 5 pieces of Exodia in your opening hand are like 33%. So that's like 1 in 3 games won without doing anything at all. So there's really no reason not to play Exodia in a competitive duel. Next up, we have our 1 Honesty Neos for our lone Bubble Man. Just a great hand trap in general, great for protecting your Bubble Man, who's of course Pot of Greed on legs. You can just special summon it from your hand as long as it's the only card in your hand and the only card on your field. Draw 2 cards. Most of the time, you're going to get your Honesty Neos. You'll be able to protect it for a turn. And then next turn, you're already halfway to being able to make a Crazy Box. Speaking of which, our entire extra deck, mostly just a toolbox. I'd recommend playing at least 1 Crazy Box, since it's the craziest rank 4. It's got the highest attack, and it can negate monster effects, so pretty much required for any deck that can make it. I'd also recommend playing Encode Talker, since we have exactly 3 Cyberse monsters, and you'll really want to take advantage of that. The rest you can run pretty much whatever you want. I'd say I picked out the best cards, but if you want to run worse stuff, you can. Whatever you do, though, I'd say run at least 2 Synchros and at least 2 Fusion monsters. We aren't running any Fusion spells or any tuners, but we do have Creature Swap and Switcheroo and 2 copies of Exchange. So there's a chance that you could steal one of your opponent's tuners or their polymerization and then just go off from there. Moving back to the main deck, we've got Sai Blocker, which is pretty much just Prohibition in robot form. I don't think I need to explain why those cards are amazing, especially with Exchange. You could see what your opponent is playing and then just prohibit or block whatever their key cards are. After that, we've got our hand trap lineup. We're playing all the best hand traps: 2 Honest, 2 Alistair, 2 Kalut, for pretty much the same reason as last year. If your opponent sees you playing a lone Kalut in attack mode, they're going to assume you have the other Kalut in hand. They won't think that you're an idiot who just plays Kalut without something to back it up. Unless you've already done something that makes them underestimate you, in which case you probably will have that Kalut in hand because you're setting up. Bada bingo, bada bango, they're taking 28 damage at least. You can do the same thing with Honest and with Alistair. They're pretty much all the same. Alistair also has a secondary effect. It searches some spell card. Doesn't really matter, we're not playing it. We're mostly just using it for that sweet 1,000 attack point boost. Speaking of which, we've also got Gem Merchant, which is pretty much Honest just for Earth normal monsters. And we've got one of those, so why not? We're also playing the Dragon Radar from Dragon Ball Z, just in case we need to resurrect Krillin. 2 Pump Princesses, just for lowering attack. Again, it's a common tech, I probably don't need to explain it. Your opponent runs over them by battle, they go face up in your spell trap zone. 10 to 15 turns later, bam, their attack is 0, making them easy pickings for your Marshmallow or your Noisy Gnat. We're of course playing our one-of Sonic Chick in order to use with our Scramble Egg. I don't think I need to explain why that's in there. Morphtronic Lantron is anti-Trickstar support. If it's in attack mode, your opponent takes burn damage instead of you. So if you open with this, equip it with Mist Body, activate Prohibition on Twin Twister, you've pretty much locked down Trickstars. There's nothing they can do except commit suicide at that point. Marsh Macrolon, meanwhile, is mostly here for moral support. Dot Scraper, in case you need any dots scraped. No idea why this thing is here, honestly. And finally, there's Dongle Acorn, who's just so fucking adorable. I couldn't help but put him here. I mean, look at him. He's just a little ding-dang-dingly with little realistic human hands. No idea what his effect is, but if you summon him in attack mode, a lot of people won't attack him just because he's so dang cute. As for our spells, we have Exchange, obviously. Multiplication of Ants, obvious as well. Fiend's Sanctuary is actually here for one of this deck's many OTKs, probably the one you're going to be using the most. It summons a token with 0 attack, and your opponent takes all battle damage from attacks involving it. So if you summon this while you control another monster, you can equip your token with Mist Body so it can't be destroyed by battle, and then play Staunch Defender. Staunch Defender, if you're unaware, is pretty much Battle Mania on crack. It makes it so when your opponent declares an attack, you could target one of your monsters, and your opponent must attack that monster with every monster they have. They're not going to declare an attack if they know you have if this is all you have out on the field, but if you have another monster, you can lure them into attacking, like whatever this guy is, then activate Staunch Defender, and they're taking all the damage from that. Combine this with an Unfortunate Report, make them do 2 battle phases, and you've got an OTK in just a simple 5 or 6 cards, assuming your opponent summoned 4,000 or more damage and did destroy any of your combo pieces. But yeah, as for the rest of these, we got a double summon, because 2 summons is better than 1. We've got Terraforming, because field spells really important in this format. Sparks, the original Trickstar, for those times when you just need that extra 200 damage per game. We're playing Diane Keto, the Boob Master, just there to cancel out your opponent's Sparks, which they'll inevitably be playing. Yada yada, who cares about that? For spell trap removal, we're playing Twin Twisters, a very popular choice these days, just 500 life points to destroy a face-up spell card on the field. Prohibition, I've already explained. Mist Body, so you can stall out to get your combo pieces, and for doing some of your OTKs. It's actually involved in at least, I think, 3 or 4 OTKs that this deck can do. Very critical card. DD Dynamite, to punish your opponent for playing Pot of Desires. They banish 10 cards, bam, that's an instant 3,000 burn damage. On top of the damage from like Sonic Chick and Noisy Gnat, that's usually enough to make a game. And then we just got a bunch of other stuff, mostly our anti-one-ofs. We're playing White Hole to negate Dark Hole, Call of the Grave to negate the newly limited Monster Reborn, and of course 2 anti-Raigekis. And I know a lot of people think you're good with just 1 anti-Raigeki since Raigeki itself is at 1, but it's such a common card, I think it's worth the extra space. Just make sure that you negate it. If you have 2 of these in here, you're most likely going to see it in your opening hand like 9 out of 10 times. Plus, with Magician of Faith at 3, there's always a chance your opponent will recover their Raigeki, and they won't be expecting that second anti-Raigeki. And really, that's about it. There are other cards in here, but I've already reached the 10-minute mark, I think. So you'll just have to figure them out for yourself. What's the point of Doppelganger? You're a smart kid, you'll do it. Oh, and I should mention the side deck, though. Mostly it's just cards for specific matchups. We're playing the Dual-Tainment in case your opponent is playing one of those coin flip decks. Maybe they've got Arcana Force of the World Turbo, that way you can draw cards to get out of their lock. Castle Link to counter Link decks. And Weather Report for Swords of Revealing Light, since that can stall through some of your OTKs and stuff. Other than that, we've got some anti-cheat cards. Since this deck is pretty much unstoppable, the only way most people can beat it is by cheating. So I put in a couple of cards that will help with that. Like if you're playing someone and they cheat by playing Pot of Greed, you can side in Spirit of the Greed. And then when you steal their Pot of Greed with your exchange, you can draw an extra card when you play it. Likewise, if someone cheats in Harpy's Feather Duster, or maybe you're just accidentally playing an OCG format, you ended up in Japan, you could side in your Griffin's Wing to negate that. We want to play at least 3 of those because that's such a prevalent card. In fact, it's so prevalent, we're also playing Griffin's Feather Duster, which, based off the name, I assume does something similar. I don't know. I actually don't read all too well. We've also got the one of Invocation if you want to be like kind of scrubby and actually fusion summon, use your Alistairs. We've got our Call of Darkness in case Monster Reborn comes back to 2 or your opponent cheats in a second Monster Reborn. That way you can negate all copies of it. And of course, Seal of Orichalcos if you need to steal your opponent's soul in order to resurrect Atlantis. But anyway, there's the deck. I hope you enjoy it. If you'd like to see the deck in action, you can check out the main video, link in the description or on the end card. I'll be playing 10 random duels against opponents on YGOPro, and CIMO'S voice will be there, so it should be fun. Anyway, until next time, good luck and have fuck. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah. I said hey, what's going on?